Magna Cum had a good gurgle over James Thurber's Fables for Our Times, the story that had a moral: don't get it right, get it written. He was in the Cyril Wex gang who kept a close watch on me in high school. Went to college up north towards Boston. Um, Wecht would understand why that's so funny to him, because most of the people who cover the Kennedy Odyssey just tell a story. His murder is a storybook for us, of sorts. I know what happened. If you ever want to know, I can show you how Reagan's gang circled him and shot him for the AIDS attack in London's Houdini. But if the story of the script, which Van Gogh markets with stunts, assassination stunts, as his pet Van Gogh, um, ever gets to the point where people are willing to write books about it, there'll be a lot of similar odysseys, raps on the tune of the underworld's involvement, for example. And I think it will be helpful to know what some of the nebulous threads, as Mamie Dope would put it, what they are. For example, in April of 1980, Nick Perry got into the gig when I was 9 years old, I should tell you, outside in the Eastminster district, 8 years old. I used to see the numbers guys with stuff tucked in their pocket, the kind of guys who put cyanide in your peaches if you crossed the Union in their pornographic genocide collection plate. In 1980, Nick Perry of Bowling for Dollars, Styling for Dollars, I think it was on too, got in trouble for fixing the wheel at 666. Now, the script of Gail Burstyn also produced 666. She's selling tunes, logic, that because we live in a corrupt society, we desire redemption. And he's going to protect us from the devil by any means necessary, whether we like it or not, which is the reason behind the AIDS attack. And Gail Burstyn fixed the number 666, 68 for Martin Luther King's murder, 74 for when they tortured me and wrote the script, and 80 for when John Lennon pulled his Houdini, when he was stepping out. And the Croquet Regusta Coroner, by whom I mean Yoko Ono, she's made the unions a cat's paw for stuff. She had all of the drivers, the Port Authority, cheering her two virgins pussy ball. I mean, the black people were so convinced that they deserved the Mula Rula Cockadoola from the corruption gig of the collection plate, that they could use anybody for anything to get it, and they openly admitted that they approved of the AIDS attack. How's that for Sly and the Family, Oliver Stone? So there was a guy I'd like to identify when we were given Shep, and Milton Shep was introduced to me by Todd, who was my neighbor, and Wadmaker was around. He'd come up, worked for the Pittsburgh Post Gazette. He'd come to collect, saying, "No, son, no, son." You know, because the Thompson family across the street, Jeff obviously was in on what Gail Burstyn was born. She was in politics, my half sister. They didn't want my father to have a son. They snot from him. Well, my mother was sort of a Crawford type, you know, Naomi Crawford girl. She liked the Crawford girl. She used to say to me, the Crawford girl. She was a Joan Crawford, you know, Mildred Pierce person. We got a street here, Mildred and Pierce. So these people, the insider clique, don't know about this. The corruption number people. They've got a place called Berlin's Brewery or something like that, which is BB, Berliner Brew or whatever, like Nathaniel BB. And Wade Beebe for Wade, Roe versus Wade, was part of that same gang that Magna Thumb was part of. Magna Cum was part of. But Yablonsky was murdered in 1969, and I was a blonde kid, right? So they may have been playing linguistic stuff because the pole came after me when Karsh got me to smoke pot with his stolen car and said, shh, Karsh. So they were playing linguistic games, that's clear. Watt makers like Zukli or Watt, the Frankenstein. And there was a girl named Shiona, like Vengeance of Shiona. But they know that the way that I was massacred by Kasparowski was a mortal sin in Pennsylvania history, so they covered for it with getting Reverend Penis Gabriel all happy that they could pull off Lenin Houdini with Kirk Guster and Brian Eno. And they called in Putin and stuff so to up the stakes. But yeah, there's a lot of underworld nebulous threats because the the pornographic genocide they pulled on Mount Desert Island was filmed by people like Brian Richmond who say, oh, we were just, like they had Tony Levin going, this was just horseplay. But so it's, what would you think of a scheme to transform the human race by injecting the blood? When he was at school with McGarvey, whose partner in the Gutter Snipes is Wadmaker, who's named in the script from 1974. He was saying this stuff before AIDS happened, just as it got started. So it was clearly organized. Like Douglas, they kidnapped, tortured me, and invaded my privacy. They avoided my right to personhood, because you don't have a right to person. You're an object. Pub Carl was always saying people were just things. I was rather surprised to learn that I was a privileged status symbol because of my cultural background and heritage. Of course, they ripper the carpet. You should see Rachel McCloskey has been cunningly conning the Palestinian people to help her set me up in Seattle. Seattle can't bear the fact that I got away. They rip her, they writhe. They're worse than George Galloway, if that's possible. They absolutely writhe that I am in Phi Theta Cap after they tried to ban me from college. Because they ripper murdered somebody. Like, okay, Diamond DeGaulis, this is an example of what we're dealing with. So just so that you have a very, very clear picture. Her namesake, Dia, from Dermond, which is like Dia Dermond DeGaulis, called me to announce Lenin Houdini. She used to say things that were conspicuously identical to the way Gail Burston would put things. You are going to be so famous, you are so... Diamond DeGaulis, who was the stiletto woman outside the World Trade Center, Cliff Robertson, starred as JFK, was there. And Dia gave me a book that was made into a film starring Cliff Robertson, the Charlie guy in Senna. Anyway, it's called Time Must Have a Stop. She was like a voodoo museum, something. Diamond DeGaulis was in immunogenetics and devilostrophy back in the 70s. Now, that's long before AIDS started. But they claim she represents the victims because she's pervy. She pours blood on herself, and this is like the scatological crow line of the Ripper Hatter sale of hate in Seattle. We represent the clinics. We represent the lower downtrodden. That to America stuff that comes out of Toon's associate. She's associated with Kim Kardashian. So just so you know, the timeline isn't fudged. It's perfectly clear. It's perfectly clear. The timeline is perfectly clear. They used King Crimson's death sheet from 1969, but they get it to play close enough to the edge that I had to go undercover and sleep with people I shouldn't be sleeping with. So they could say, see, and expose themselves. Zell sent me a positive and negative sign around my name, where he admitted talking about injecting people in his admiration for Joseph Goebbels. And he was in the Gurdjieff Society. Fripp introduced me to a friend of his. So this is the Pennsylvania, you know, like one girl gets on the Port Authority bus with a pickaxe and hits the tip, and she's like super wired Appalachian freak. She hits the tip with her finger with a spike, you know. Back when Flip was dropping his pick and saying, I can sense Jimmy's rapid eye movements, man. I mean, it's very pathetic theater guild who are murdering people. And the police are doing one of these.